What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and today I am looking back at the year for Bellator. Obviously, I've covered most, if not all, of those Bellator cards here, whether it be on previews or on the betting show. And it's been a very interesting year for Bellator. If I am to review it in like one sentence or one word, I would say it's been maybe a little bit disappointing. And not from the point of view of like anything they have necessarily done. I just think from the output that has actually come. And I mean that like there's been a lot of disappointing, lackluster main events. There's been a lot of fights that we thought, oh, they're going to be really, really good, and they don't deliver. And now that's nothing got to do with Bellator. That's not their fault, but that's just been the case. And maybe that's bad luck more than anything else. But I feel like there's also been like a serious lack of promotion. And it's a thing that I took a long time to kind of realize, I'd say. But when you see people saying it all the time, it almost feels like people saying there's a lack of promotion is the biggest promotional tool for Bellator, because it's like becoming a bit or something. And I definitely think that is something that Bellator used to be way better at. For some reason, it's kind of gone down a bit. Something that they can improve, I think, I suppose, upon for next year. And it's something they need really to change, because there's nothing worse in MMA than having a product that the fans don't want to see, or they feel like they're not being hyped for. And when you come to Ireland, you have that. You have massive hype. It gets hyped there. When you go to Hawaii, you have massive hype there. And I'm sure in Italy, massive hype over there. But when you're having like just the next Mohegan Sun card, or the next, San Jose card, or Chicago card, or whatever it is, it just feels like we don't even know they're happening sometimes until they actually happen. And for Bellator, that's one thing they need to improve on. There's been a lot of good, and we will talk about the good as well this year. But if I was to give an overall assessment of Bellator from this year, from like the first initial thoughts, that's what I would say. I would say it's like Bellator changed for a few years to where I think I was feeling more positive about them, and it feels like this year was kind of a throwback to the maybe the last years of Rebney / the first years of Scott Coker, and I'm not sure why that is, and I hopefully it was mostly the bad luck, and hopefully it'll change again for next year. But yeah, I think Bellator at the moment are at maybe a lower ebb than they have been for a while in terms of fan feeling and all that. Now the rest of it in terms of sustainability and the company and all, who knows? I think that's one thing we don't really know. But yeah, I just think that's the way I feel, and I don't know. Let me know in the comment section if you feel the same way. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm off base. But like, I feel like this year as well, I've covered a lot of One Championship, covered a lot of Cage Warriors, covered a lot of PFL. And the more I cover all of them, it feels like the more I like them, the more I enjoy the product, the more I enjoy watching the fighters, the more I think these fighters are really, really good fighters. Whereas Bellator up until this year, I feel like has been that case for the last 2 or 3 years. But this year, I don't know. Maybe it's just my feeling, but it hasn't felt that way to me. Now, let's talk about a couple of more things in Bellator as well. So, I think the overall production, the overall feel of Bellator as a product, I think is actually pretty good. And I mean that like fight night product, having been at a good few Bellator shows now over the years, and watched obviously a lot of them flying over to Canada to watch them on YouTube. A lot of the Bellator shows are generally pretty good. They're not as homogenized as the UFC, but they'll still do seem professional and well produced and all of that. Obviously the judging and the refereeing and all that, they have, arguably even better than the UFC in terms of a lot of the guys, apart from Douglas Crosby, maybe come through in the Mohegan Sun, where, the ABC is located, and they have the likes of Brian Miner there, who judges a lot, and they have the likes of Eric Cologne, who comes in an awful lot. And when they come to the UK and Europe, they bring those guys with them, but also bringing, say, a guy like Ben Carledge to judge as well, and Mark Goddard, and maybe Mavahedi even, I think, has been in a few of them, Rich Mitchell and other guys, but also have, the likes of the other top refs, whether it is Brian Miner or the others who ref in America as well. So I think, in general, Bellator do a good job obviously with the help of Mohegan, where they're mostly located, and the ABC and all of that with that as well. The commentary is interesting because, like, commentary, and I say this an awful lot, but it's one of those things. It's a very personal thing. You either like it or you don't like it. You know, everyone probably knows it at this stage. I'm not the biggest fan of Daniel Cormier. Some people absolutely love Daniel Cormier's commentary. Now, as a commentator, as a person and all, I'm sure he's a lovely guy. Just not a massive fan of his commentary. I think I've always liked Mauro Ronaldo. I know some people don't like him. Some people absolutely detest him. And I like Big John as well, and maybe it's because of my bias maybe towards the judging and all of that. Now, Big John, sometimes these judging ones, I wouldn't always agree with him, but I do like his commentary, I do like his style, I like the way he does it. You know, sometimes a bit maybe like sure in terms of the opinion on the fight and the everything, but I kind of like that. I like his style, I like the way he does it, and for me, if I'm giving my personal opinion here, maybe people listen and have different, but I think the commentary is pretty good. The MC, not good. I think Michael C. Williams is genuinely, and I don't mean to attack the man or anything like here now. I'm attacking his what he does, not even attacking it, but just saying what I think. I really think it brings down the product. Now, people might be listening to this and say, "Oh, what he just introduces the fighters, not a big thing." But if you think about it, the iconic "Let's get ready to rumble" or "It's showtime" or even "It's time" with Bruce Buffer down through the years, they're iconic things that make the bells and whistles of the fighter more important. And Michael C. Williams just is awful. Like, it's just like it's just fake, weird voice, nothing redeeming about it at all. I think honestly, if Bellator got rid of him and brought in someone good, give Joe Martinez all the money in the world, get him in, the all-around product in terms of the big feel of it would improve knowing immediately. Genuinely. Immediately, I think. And look, I'm not Michael C. Williams, I'm sure he's a lovely guy and all. Maybe like he could move and do, say, LFA or somewhere like that, do something else. Just Bellator, I think it's a big issue with him. No, a big issue, not a big issue, but an issue. I think with them. So all in all, then on the desk, I think Josh Thompson generally does a good job. Sometimes he maybe doesn't make the most sense in the world, but you're all like that at times. But I think he's generally good. And Amanda Guerra, I think I always mess up her name, but it's Amanda Guerra. She is to me the best desk presenter in MMA ever. And she's only been doing, I think, a year now or something. She is absolutely phenomenal. If you don't watch a lot of Bellator maybe and don't see her behind the desk, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. She tells the truth when she needs to tell the truth. She throws it over to the fighters or the analysts when she needs to do it. She has a bit of a joke when she does it all so well, and I think she is phenomenal. And if I was the UFC, I'd be trying to pluck her away from Bellator ASAP. Get her in there. You know, she's phenomenal. Really, really, really phenomenal. So all in all, I think from that point of view, the Bellator production very rarely have any issues with that. I like the commentary. I like most of the broadcasts and all that. One big issue, I think, like, it's still on YouTube in Canada. In Ireland here, you can barely get it unless you're in one of the big cities. You literally cannot legally get Bellator. It's impossible to get it. You can only get it on this channel, Virgin Media Sports, which you can only get if you can get Virgin Media Broadband. Virgin Media Broadband is only available in like 2 or 3 or 4 big cities or something like that. The vast majority of the country can't get it. So it's that's pretty bad. And I know in other places there are issues and things as well. That's always been the way with Bellator. I thought they had sorted those problems, but it's seemingly not. Right, let's start and go through the year, and let's go through it card by card here, and look at some of the most interesting moments and talk about it card by card. So they started on January 29th. At the Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona. Obviously, you know, this was the first major year again where we're coming out of the pandemic, I suppose, with no behind the scenes shows and all of that. And this was obviously, as I said, in Phoenix, Arizona. And you had Ryan Bader for the heavyweight title in the main event against Valentin Moldavsky. Won the decision, do you know what? And he looked good. I think I remember tweeting during this fight, like, never let Bader fight at light heavyweight again, because he hasn't looked great at light heavyweight, but he's looked very, very good at heavyweight. And obviously he's going to be fighting Fedor coming up here again. So it was a very, very good win for Bader there, and for the Phoenix, Arizona crowd, very good as well. Another great win for Benson Henderson, who's obviously from that locality as well, in a tough fight against Islam Mamedov, a close fight in that one. Then you had Henry Corrales on the card, Sabo Amassi on the card, Enrique Barzola against Darian Caldwell, who was a massive win there. Barzola, a lot of really entertaining fights over the last year and even, last couple of years even. And then one team of Bellator cards, which I'm sure we will see throughout this, is there's so many prospects fighting on the undercard. They do a great job of that. So they had Sullivan Cawley here, Lucas Brennan, even Nikita Mikhailov, who is coming over from Eastern Europe, but Dalton Rasta as well, who's been a real standout this year and looked really good. So that's one thing Bellator do very very well. They give a shine on the undercard to their up and comers, and they have a lot of very good up and comers, signing a lot of wrestlers, and from look what they've done with AJ McKee and others. So very good there. The next card in was Gracie versus Storley on February 19th in the Mohegan Sun. Logan Storley ended up winning that one. From memory, this was one of those fights you're thinking, okay, we have a jiu-jitsu guy against a wrestler, and it turned into 5 rounds of pretty low-level striking, if memory serves me correct. But Logan Storley showed that he was a better striker than Eamon Gracie and won that fight there. Andrei Koreshkov bounced back and absolutely decimated Chaser and Contra with he put her on Contra unconscious with a spinning back kick, and punches after it. Adam Piccolotti beat Georgie Harkanyan. Brendan Ward came back here. What a great story Brendan Ward has had over the last while. Nick Brown, the former champion, I think it's LFA, former champion, isn't it? He got a win here. Jordan Newman as well, one of the prospects coming through, got a win on this card as well. We Bellator 275 then over in Dublin. It was Mousasi against Vanderford. This feels like, and I was at this card, this feels like it was 10 years ago. Honestly, I'm looking here, February 25th, 2022. It feels like 100 years ago. Never mind only 10 months ago, whenever it was. Mousasi in the main event. Now, look, it only went a minute 25. Austin Vanderford got that stinger on his neck and then got finished after that. And it was great to see Mousasi. I think what Bellator have done well this year, and what actually they're not doing really well for next year, but we might get to that, is they have put Mousasi on the Irish cards. They've put Romero on the Irish cards. They put Manhoff on the Irish cards. And Irish people want that as well as the big Irish fights. And, maybe people could say I'm a bit biased here, but Ireland, but I do think it's true. Ireland is their biggest market right now. They have more fans showing up in Ireland. They have fighters who people care about in Ireland throughout the card. The Irish MMA fan base is massive and really cares, and it's always special. I've been saying, I've done a few of these previews for a few different promotions, and a team throughout it is being different, from the UFC especially. And Ireland has been an absolute godsend for Bellator to help them be different. They have all the, not all the Irish fighters, but all the SPG fighters and a lot of the best in their prime Irish fighters at the moment. And they can put on a show in the Tree Arena, sell it out time after time again, and have something special. And Bellator are very, very lucky to have that. And I spoke to someone from Bellator recently and I goes, do you know what? Do you know how lucky you are to have that? Don't ruin it. Especially with this card coming up, we'll talk about it in a while. It's not a great card they have coming up in Ireland, and they really need to take care of Ireland. And I feel like the next card coming up, they haven't. But this card back in February was really good. I feel like they gave the Irish everything we wanted. We had Mousasi, we wanted that, and the next card was even better. But Sinead Kavanagh versus Liam McCourt. Now, this is a fight that maybe, it means a lot to everyone around the world. I suppose it was like the number 6 against the number 7 ranked 145 pounder in the world in the best 145 down division. Okay, we can talk about 145 pounds, but it's 2 Irish women fighting each other. 2 people who've trained against each other. I interviewed both of them coming up to the fight, and it was so weird because it's like sometimes, okay, if I'm interviewing an Irish fighter, I'm like, sure, what are you going to do? How are you going to knock out this lad or this lady or whatever? And there's always a bit of that, But it's weird. Look, I can't say that to Sinead Kavanagh. I'm interviewing Liam McCourt tomorrow, or the other way around. It all felt very weird, and the fight itself, I don't know. This was one of the most. You could write a book about this fight, and I genuinely mean that. It was one of the weirdest fights I've ever been at, because people were cheering when Sinead was doing well. People were cheering when Leah was doing well, and they were the same people. You know, there was like no one wanted anyone to lose. They wanted both of them to win, and it just turned into an absolute weird fight. It was a good fight, very entertaining fight. Sinead Kavanagh got injured, managed to get through it, managed to get the win. Leah McCord very disappointed. I interviewed her afterwards a couple of months after, and she was like, I didn't really want to kick the injured leg of Sinead Kavanagh. I kind of felt bad for her, you know. And it was a mad fight, a really good fight. I loved the fight, but it was a bizarre one. It was a bizarre one at the same time. You know, maybe a fight we'll see again. With Kieran Clark getting a win. He's another great up-and-comer in Bellator. Kasan Nurmagomedov was in the card, or Kasan Magomed Sharapov even, not Nurmagomedov. Brian Moore against Ernell Lugo, razor close decision there. Unbelievably high level fight. That was the one thing you would say about that, a great high level fight. Brett Johns got a win, Davy Gallon got a win as well. Danny McCormick unfortunately lost there, and she's over in Invicta now as well, so a tough run for Danny. Dara Kelly looked really good. Nathan Kelly as well, who's over in PFL now. And Lee Hammond, one of the best up-and-comers, came in, got one fight, went out, got fights everywhere else. So I think that's smart for someone like Lee to be doing that. So the Irish, we'll have another Irish card later on here, but a very, very good card there for Bellator. Then we had 276 back over in Missouri in the US. This is Adam Borics against Mads Burnell, and what a performance from Borics to win the decision. Me personally, I thought Burnell would win this. I thought not even that he might dominate, but I thought he might win it well, but he didn't. Borics put on a phenomenal display here, and we'll see where Borics went after this, but this is a very, very good fight. On the undercard, Phil Davis does what Phil Davis does, put on a pretty boring fight against Angliscus. Johnny Eblen and John Salter fought for number one contendership, I suppose, there, and Eblen was another guy who was a real star of the year for Bellator. Gabsy Rabandanoff, a lightweight, looks good. He beat JJ Wilson, who's also a very, very good fighter. Alex Palisi went on, it was after this to fight Yoel, wasn't it, or was it before? I don't know, maybe not. Ramiro Cotton got a win, Cody Law got a win, Roman Fernaldo, with a great year, with a good few knockouts as well, until he kind of came up short late. Had a win here on this card as well. Moving forward to Bellator 277 in April. So they kind of started a little bit later in January, but they had a lot of cards up until April here now to Bellator 277. And this was probably their biggest fight of the year. Another one, people were like saying, I can't believe it's Thursday night, and I just heard that Patricio Ferreira is fighting AJ McKee. And it was a good... Well, it was a good fight. It wasn't a great fight. Another close decision. AJ McKee wasn't too happy with it. Patricio ended up winning. It was definitely a close one, which over in San Jose. But it was kind of a weird ending to the card. It reminded me of the UFC 282 card, where it was 10 finishes, and then we had the two end fights, and they disappointed. Like this one, the main event, okay, the main event wasn't bad, but the co-main event was that, the clash of heads between Corey Anderson and Nemkov was supposed to be the end of the tournament. They ended up fighting again. Obviously, we'll get to that. But before that, there was some very good knockouts. Aaron Pico knocked out Adley Edwards. Linton Vassell knocked out Tim Johnson. Tyrell Fortune got a knockout. Yagshimuradov got a knockout. There was some really, really good finishes here. Crutchmere got a win as well, as did others. So that was, a great card up until the last two, which kind of failed to disappoint. Although the main event, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on the main event. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh on it. 278 then, Velasquez versus Carmouche. Another one where the main event flattered to deceive, I suppose, in terms of wasn't the greatest fight. It wasn't a bad fight, but Liz Carmouche got the win. Bad stoppage by Mike Beltran. They had the rematch, and we'll obviously get to that later in the year as well. But yeah, another main event there that kind of went down the Swanee for Bellator. Danny Sabatello beat Ernell Lugo before that, and Sabatello, what a year for Sabatello. Enrique Barzola beating Nikita Mikhailov there as well. For some people, maybe two shocks in that one, but two dominating wins for both of them. Weber Almeida got a win on that card as well. Dante Shiro, who went on to fight in Dublin later on in the year then as well. 279 was Cyborg's one and only fight of this year. Now it's very interesting with Cyborg, and Cyborg, I think, is she out of contract at Bellator? It seems like she is. Like, what's she going to do next? She's been boxing. Sinead Kavanagh was given the fight, then she got injured, it didn't happen. Sinead's coming back now, she'll be fighting when Bellator come to Ireland again. If she wins that, will she be fighting Cyborg in the rematch? Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen there, but she did go in there with Arlene Blencowe Blencowe put on a good show, went to a decision, and she ended up winning there. Rafi and Stots got a very good win over Juan Archuleta. Stots probably the Bellator fighter this year, if not right up there. It was absolutely fantastic. Justine Kish beat Lima McFarlane in a very good performance from her there. Lima, was a star in Bellator for a while, but I think the levels maybe showed with the level of that division improving. Justine Kish is a good fighter, if not a great fighter, and won that one. Patchy Mix, what a year for Patchy Mix. What a year. Beat Kyoji Haraguchi here. This was a really, really good card. And he beat him by unanimous decision. Yancy Medeiros came back here and this was one of these cards, a special card as well, because this was on in Hawaii, in Honolulu, and with the Hawaiian people on the card, like Ali Malay and her unbelievable walkout and all. This was another one where Bellator special, and I absolutely loved it. Gaiuchi Yamauchi got another win here. He's a guy who's always on a run and right up there towards the top of the division. Dana Silva as well beat Janae Harding. She went on then to fight Liam McCourt later on the year, which we'll get to. But Kai Kamaka lost here, bounced back later in the year. So there's a lot of that in Bellator as well. A lot of that. Bellator 280 over in Paris, France. The first fight over in Paris. Czech Kongo in the main event, and he fought Ryan Bader. Again, not the best fight in the world. Bader ended up winning it. Although I remember tweeting at the time, it's like, this fight is not great, but 100 times better than I thought it'd be. And so we'll take that. It was here, yes, that Yoel Romero fight Alex Belize and knocked him out in the last second of the third round. David Galan was on the card as well. Gregory Babin, Lorenz Larkin why did I say Lorenz Larkin, the French accent there? This Nidielski versus Carvalho one was one of the weirdest. If you're looking at it from an Irish point of view, Carvalho went in there and he beat Daniel Weichel in Ireland, and then they gave him Nidielski, kind of an unknown, unranked guy, and he ended up losing a split decision. It just seemed absolutely bizarre to me in this one. Jordan Sonnenbach got a win, Jordan Barton got a win, Yves Landu got a win, as did a few others as well on that card. Over back to London then for UFC 281, Bellator 281. To me, the worst decision of the year, outside of Bellator. MVP versus Storley in the main event. I thought MVP won this fight quite clearly. Storley ended up getting the decision. It was a real old school judging decision. With a lot of judges, I respect them as well. I disagree with them fiercely, but I still respect them, and I respect their call here. I will never agree with it, but I just thought Storley laid on top of MVP, did nothing, and got a few shots before he got the takedown, and got a few shots everywhere. But having said that, it was a terrible fight. Another terrible main event for Bellator, whether you agree with the decision or not. Absolutely woeful fight. Fabian Edwards, Leona Machida, again, that was great stuff for Fabian, the win of his career, and propelled him on after that. Paul Daly in his retirement fight won. Great scenes after that. Simon Biong, one of the top up-and-comers, beat Luke Trainer. Daniel Weichel was on his card against Robert Whiteford. The buggy choke for Oliver Inkamp, one of the submissions of the year. There was a draw on this card between Alfie Davis and Tim Moyle. Charlie Ward got a win as well. So yeah, not a bad card all in all. Just the main event was absolutely atrocious. Then we had Mousasi versus Eblen. Another not great main event, another wrestle fest here, 5 rounds, but a great performance from Johnny Eblen. It was one of those fights you're about, maybe a round and a half, 2 rounds in, and you're like, well, we know what's going to happen here. We might as well switch off the TV. We don't have to watch the next 3 rounds. And another, one of their Uncasville, Connecticut cards. It's like, well, okay, grand, we know what we're getting here, and that's what we got. Danny Sabatello though, Leandro Higo. Sabatello, great win and a great post fight again there, as he always does. Brendan Ward got another win. Magomedov beat Barzola. Kilis Mana got a good win. Lucas Brennan, Katzengano bounced back here. Look, is Kat going to fight Cyborg? Is that going to happen? Who knows? Anatoly Tokov got a win. Sabo Hamasi again, who looks like he's going to be fighting Brendan Ward. Aaron Jeffrey, Mandel Nalo as well. A few wins there. Bellator 283. Jason Jackson against Douglas Lima again. 5-round decision, not the most exciting in the world. A great win for Jason Jackson, who is right up there. It's very, very unfortunate for him. There's probably no one in MMA right now who deserves a title shot as much as Jason Jackson, and he's not getting it. The champion Logan Storley is fighting the interim the champion Yaroslav Amosov is fighting the interim champion Logan Storley in Ireland, but Jason Jackson has to be the next one there. He's been on such a great run, and it's a good win here, a very good win here, but not the best fight in the world again. Another guy at lightweight who's very good, Tafik Musayev, absolutely destroyed Sydney Outlaw in seconds. Usman Magomedov, who obviously went on to do big things after this, got a win as well. Lorenz Larkin was in a no contest with illegal elbows here. Dalton Rasta got another win. Gadzi Radzabov got another win. Fernaldo got another win here as well. So a good night for Bellator, I suppose, aside from the main event. 284, Gracie versus Yamauchi. Again, good win here for Yamauchi. He ended up punching Gracie out of it in the second round. Another guy who's on a really, really good run at welterweight. I wonder will they put him in there maybe against Jason Jackson? I don't know. There was a no contest in the Steve Mowry Volkanovski or Moldavsky fight. Mowry to me is a guy fighting a former champion here. I think Steve Mowry, this should have been one of my predictions for next year, but he'll be a champion next year. I believe that. I think he's very, very good. Lima bounced back and got a win here. Was this the one where she retired? I think she might have retired after, but everyone retires. Gokhan Sakaran beat Saeed Soma. Aaron Jeffrey got another win. Sullivan Cawley got another win. Deanna Bennett bounced back with a win. Pat Downey won here in his debut. I spoke to him before that, so it was good stuff out of him, but we'll see what happened in later on. Bellator 285, Vincent Henderson and Peter Queally over in Ireland. Again, another disappointing main event. A massive opportunity for Peter Queally, but look, we know the quality of Vincent Henderson. Yoel Romero and Melvin Manhope was a very enjoyable fight to be at and to watch. The Liam McCourt fight, look, Leah, we talked about the kind of the mental side of the last fight. I think to just bounce back here and get a win was big for Leah, but not the most entertaining fight. Carvalho and Burnell was very good, a massive win for Pedro Carvalho. Kieran Clark got a very good comeback win there as well. Carl Moore, absolutely brilliant. This card up and down was absolutely fantastic. Carl Moore beating Carlisle Braxton after winning early. What exactly? He got a big shot landed on him, didn't he? And then he came back and got the face crank as well. Brian Moore put on a fantastic display here. Brett Johns is supposed to fight James Galler, didn't end up happening. Fight Winsky, he was given out after that. He didn't get an interview and stuff. But like, you're fighting Jordan Winsky in the middle of a Bellator Dublin card and you're from Wales, like, come on. Derek Kelly, top prospect, not the best display from here. Still won the unanimous decision, won every round, but yeah, he was very disappointed with himself afterwards, and I love that. I absolutely love that. I was like, he doesn't need anyone telling him the truth. He's telling himself the truth. And that's a massive thing to have for a fighter. Ken Musa looked fantastic here, beating Georgie Carcanyon. Kenny Mokahana looked really good. Asela Ju, one of the top guys coming up. Luca Pilat got an unbelievable choke here. A reverse arm triangle choke against Dante Shira. Again, one of the chokes of the year. 286 was back over to Long Beach. Patricio against Adam Borics. Great display again by Patricio. I fancy Borics maybe to win this, but Patricio just destroyed him. Not the best main event in the world, but a good main event. You wouldn't put this in with some of the other ones. AJ McKee against Spike Carlisle. I think I've called him Spark Carlisle twice in the last week. That's weird. Spike came out and he fought hard, but AJ ended up winning in the end. Shoulder injury for Aaron Peak. I remember they tried to put his shoulder back into place, and someone with a bad shoulder, myself, here, hold on, can we get a crack? There you go. I wonder, can you hear that crack? I hope you can. It was an awful crack. Lost to Jeremy Kennedy. Maybe they'll do that fight again. Juan Archuleta beat Barzola. Barzola, great start to the year, not a great end to the year, I suppose. The opposite then for Islam Ahmedov, who beat Nick Brown. And Lance Gibson got another good win there as well. The last three cards of the year then, and I talked about some other promotions, the last three cards of the year were their best three cards of the year. For Bellator, I suppose, maybe, they went to Italy and they put on Piccolotti versus Barnaoui. Barnaoui looked absolutely brilliant and won this, but like, the weird thing about this, right, you're in Italy, you're in the Allianz Cloud Arena in Milan, Italy, right? Here's your top main card. So that fight I just mentioned, no Italian in it, an Italian-American doesn't count. Charlie Ward against Fabian Edwards, neither Italian. Tim Wilde, Saul Rogers, Andrew Fisher, Justin Gonzalez, Daniel Sikitizi, Davi Galan, and was it Casella Vancinas, Camille Aloshuk as well. No Italians in the main card. Now, we talk about bad matchmaking, we talk about stupidity. That's the height of stupidity. They had a few Italians on the undercard, and the crowd went absolutely mad for them. Cioli and other lads as well went mad for them altogether. And Cage Warriors around the same time did a similar card. did a similarly placed card in Italy, put loads of Italians throughout the card, and it went wild for the whole thing. Couldn't believe what Bellator did here. They're doing a similar thing here coming up in Ireland, and I don't know what they're at, but anyway, Barnaoui, this guy is a real star. I hope he's in the lightweight tournament. He is absolutely brilliant. Fabian, another a lackluster enough display against Charlie, dominated the fight. There was a lot of talk at the end of that one and all. Tim Wilde, I didn't expect him to win that against Saul Rogers. He did get the split decision. I think he deserved it. Very, very good stuff for him there. Daniel Scatizzi looked good against Davy Gallon. Costello Vancinas bounced back. He's going to be a top contender at middleweight. He's a win over Fabian Edwards. Alfie Davis got a win in as well, bouncing back from injury. Simon Biong again, another win. So yeah, some good stuff on the card as well, and some great wins for the Italians. Nemkov and Henderson too. Nemkov ended up winning the decision over Anderson. That was a good fight. I enjoyed that one. Usman Nurmagomedov beat Patricky as well. That wasn't the greatest. You know, you could tell from like the first round, like there's no way Patricky's going to win this. Usman's better on the feet, better on the ground as well. And it could be a long reign here for Usman Nurmagomedov at lightweight. Although there are some very good guys, so it'll be interesting there. Elsewhere in that card, Feraldo ended up losing here. He got beaten by Leven Queally. You know, and the latter half of the year, there were a few of maybe the up-and-comers who did get beat. Pico got beat, obviously, in the weird way that we talked about. The same here for the guy I just mentioned, Feraldo. And then in the last card of the year, 289, Pat Downey ended up getting heavily knocked out. The biggest favourite of the weekend, one of the biggest favourites of the year, got beaten there in a card which had, you know, Cody Law also lost. Kyle Crutchmere also lost to Jaleel Willis and Chris Linshoni respectively. So, yeah, the end of the year, I suppose, not great for the prospects, but this was a great card at 289. That Jaleel Willis performance was great. Dalton Ross, they got a win there as well. Patchy Mix put on a brilliant performance. The armbar for Liz Carmouche, and not the best fight before that, but Sabatello and Stots was an edge of the seat type of thing. Very interesting fight. Obviously, we had the whole Doug Crosby stuff after it, but the decision was right with Brian Miner and Eric Cologne, and a good fight there, and Stots moves on. So yeah, those were the cards from the year, and honestly, I think that kind of backs up by going through them what I was saying at the start. Not a standout year for Bellator, not an amazing year for Bellator, and hopefully one day can improve on. Now, if we look ahead briefly here to next year, we have Rafi and Stots Patchy Mix. What a great fight that is. That's one thing I think as well, PFL don't have over the rest of them. Like in one championship, we have things to look forward to. In Cage Warriors, we have things to look forward to. In Bellator, we do. PFL, we just don't know what's coming up. We don't know who's fighting or anything like that. So I think Bellator have that advantage. We have basically the whole Irish card here already set out. Not a great card. I hope they add some more. I'd love to add a James Gallagher to that. I'd love to add an MVP to that card. I don't know what the crack is with MVP. What is the story with him? We'll see. But I think Bellator this year, they really need... Do you know what Bellator need? They need to put on a few really exciting fights. A few really exciting main events, a few really exciting co-main events, and stack the cards with them as well. They really, really need to do that. The Bellator agenda, the MO for 2023 should be make the fans love us again. Right? That's what they should be. They should be going all out to sign Nathan Diaz. All out to sign him. They really should. They should have signed Saldich. They should have gone all out to sign Saldich. They didn't want championship, got him. I think Bellator need to do those sort of things to keep their standing as number 2 in MMA, because PFL are coming, one championship are coming. You know, Cage Warriors are always doing great things all the time, and Bellator, Bellator may be still there at the moment, but it's a precarious position, and they need to come. They have some very, very good fighters, really, really top fighters, Stots and AJ and Patricio and all that, brilliant fighters, and they need to tell us and show us and make it even better. But yeah, look, I'm looking forward to next year for Bellator and all the other promotions, and it should be fun. It should be fun. All right, I will leave it there. My name is Sean Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.